So as you guys know, it is that time of the week again, my weekly NFL game predictions. Man, it's going to be a lot of good games this week coming in week 5. But of course, before I get into those games, you guys make sure to like and subscribe, turn on that notification bell, help me out a little bit. And without further ado, let's get right into this video. Now, for the first game, I have the Falcons versus the Jets. Now, we have to go in some little bit of details here. Of course, the Falcons did lose to the Washington football team 34-30, a game that I did cover. Go check that video out after this one, of course. The Jets shockingly beat the Titans. Of course, the Titans were without both of their number one wide receivers, so that's worth noticing. However, the Jets did play a great game against the Titans. Now, I do have the Falcons winning this game 30-17. I think their offense played really, really well against a depleted Washington football team defense, and I feel like the Jets defense isn't too much better, especially when looking at it on paper. I don't think the Jets are too much better than the Washington football team, and they might just be the Washington football team minus the offense. I feel like the New York Jets are a somewhat decent team. However, with a rookie quarterback, I think they're in a rebuild. I believe the Falcons win this game with fair ease. Now, going to the Thursday night game, aka the game that's going on actually today as of the record of this video, you have the Rams versus the Seahawks. Now, the Rams are coming off a loss, a crushing loss, where the Cardinals destroyed them 37-20, and the Seahawks, of course, got beat the 49ers 28-21. Now, I have the Rams winning this game. They're coming off of a loss. They had a very, very good week of practice. Of course, you have the best defense in the league, arguably on paper, and of course, the Seahawks have come out of the gates struggling a little bit. They have come out of the gates kind of shaky. They're 2-2. The Rams, I think they're quite honestly the best, if not one of the best teams in the entire NFL. I have them winning this game 35-21. I think the Rams are an amazing team. Now, going down, you have the Battle of Florida, the Dolphins versus the Bucs. Now, the Dolphins did lose to the Colts 27-17. It was a very, very tough loss because I actually had the Dolphins winning this game. I thought the Dolphins were going to win this game simply, because they had a new quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. They had a very, very good defense, especially from last season. However, they just couldn't get it done. Now, the Buccaneers barely beat the Patriots 19-17. Of course, Tom Brady going back to the team that he practically made a great franchise in the NFL. I have the Bucs winning this game, however, 30-14. I think the Bucs will beat the Dolphins. I don't know about the Dolphins defense. It looks really, really shaky. One week they play really, really well, and the next week they're playing terrible. The Bucs are a very consistent team, or at least tend to be a very consistent team. They have one of the best offenses in the NFL. I think the Bucs will win this game. Now, going down the list, you have the Packers versus the Bengals. Now, the Packers, they did beat the Steelers last week, 27-17. Very great outing from their defense and their offense. It's also important to notice that the Packers also signed Jalen Smith, the linebacker that was released from the Cowboys a couple of days ago. Yeah, the Packers have signed him. So that defense has just gotten this much better. And of course, going down to the Bengals, they beat the Jags 24-21. I feel like the Bengals are low-key a really, really good team. However, I have the Packers winning this game, ironically, by how much they won the Steelers game last week, 27-17. I think the Packers are a great team, especially with the addition of Jalen Smith. If Jalen Smith can combine with that defense and get together with that defense and learn their playbook in the course of literally days, then I think this defense would be amazing. And honestly, throughout the year, I think they will just get that much better with a elite linebacker like Jalen Smith inside of the middle. That's a really, really good team right there. I feel like the Packers could really compete for the Super Bowl. Now, of course, going down the list, you have the Lions versus the Vikings. Now, the Lions had a shocking loss, in my opinion, to the Bears, 24-14 last week. I feel like the Lions have a great offense, and they have put up a lot of points. However, man, it's a tough loss to the Bears, especially with a rookie quarterback they had in Justin Fields starting. I was shocked the Lions lost that game. Now, going down to the Vikings, they did lose to the Browns 14-7. The Browns pretty much blitzed them. They had the Vikings locked up the entire game. The Browns could really make a case for the best defense in the NFL. Now, going to my score prediction, I have the Vikings winning 35-14. I think the Vikings are one of the best offenses in the entire NFL. Kirk Cousins, when is the last time you remember Kirk Cousins having a bad game? Because honestly, I can't tell you. I think Kirk Cousins is a very underrated and underappreciated quarterback in today's league. I really think Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback. The Lions, I feel like, have a good offense, but the Vikings have a great defense, especially with players like Danielle Hunter being able to come back. I feel like the Vikings will win this game with fair ease. Now, going down the list, you have the Saints versus the Washington football team. Now, the Saints have struggled over the last 3 weeks. They lost to the Giants 27-21 this past week. The Washington football team beat the Falcons 34-30 this week. Man, it's just tough all around. The Saints, they're having a very, very hard time. However, I have the Saints losing this game. I have the Washington football team winning this game 21-14. The Saints offense, ever since week 1 and week 2, they just seemingly have not been able to figure it out. The Saints offense looks all confused with the starting quarterback situation. Everybody looks like they're not in their right places. And of course, that's going to come, of course, with a new quarterback and of course your number 1 wide receiver and Michael Thomas being out practically the whole season up to this point. That's going to happen. However, I just don't feel like the Saints are an elite team this season like they've been over the past 5 or so seasons. I have the Washington football team winning, especially with that great offense they have. And of course, with a moderately depleted defense, it's kind of shocking that they're bottom 5 in the league in defense. I think that's going to improve as the year goes by. Now, of course, for the next game, you have the Patriots versus the Texans. The Patriots did lose to the Bucs 19-17, but the Texans got obliterated by the Bills 40-0. I have the Patriots winning this game 24-14. I think it's going to be straight up. I feel like Mac Jones is better than any quarterback the Texans have. And to be quite honest, I really feel like the Patriots are a good team. I believe they did get Jamie Collins back for another stint in New England, so that's a good thing. He's been really good ever since he's been there, so I'm glad that Jamie Collins is back with the Patriots. I feel like the Patriots are one of those solid teams. They're not too bad, but they're not too good either. However, I feel like quite possibly anybody's good enough to beat the Texans at this point. I don't think the Texans are a good team, especially with their starting quarterback in Tyrod Taylor being out for most of the season up to this point. Now, going to the next game, you have the Broncos versus the Steelers. The Broncos had a pretty much embarrassing loss to the Ravens, 23-17, after the Ravens ran on the last play from scrimmage to break the record with, I would believe, 43 games with 100-plus team rushing yards. I believe that's what the Ravens did, and that's what caused so much uproar within the Ravens and Broncos locker rooms over the last week. Now, going down to the Steelers, they did lose to the Packers 27-17. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it for you. I think Big Ben needs to start scheduling his retirement party right now because, man, I just don't think he has it anymore. It's time for him to go, basically. It's time for the Steelers. They already found their running back. It's time for them to find a new quarterback. However, that's a topic of discussion for another day. Now, the Broncos, I have them winning this game 28-10. I feel like the Denver Broncos are a great team. Of course, that loss to the Ravens is a little iffy. It's a little unliberating, if you would. It's a very tough loss. However, if you have Teddy Bridgewater possibly coming back, of course, I feel like Drew Lock has never been a bad quarterback. I think he can take a good leap this year if he is forced to start in the starting role. However, in concussion protocol, you do have Teddy Bridgewater, who probably is going to be back this week. Of course, he has a couple more days to really rest and, get his mind together. However, I feel like the Broncos win this game, especially with their great defense and, of course, their starting quarterback quite possibly coming back. Now, going to the next game, you have the Eagles versus the Panthers. Now, the Eagles lost to the Chiefs 42-30. The Chiefs can't defend anything. I'm just going to say that. So that's probably why the Eagles scored 30 points. No disrespect to the Eagles offense at all, but the Chiefs are bad at defense. And of course, the Panthers did lose to the Cowboys 36-28. Now, for my score prediction, I have the Panthers winning this game 24-7. The Panthers are literally the best defense in the league, and they just added on Stephon Gilmore, a guy who was 99 club in Madden, all-pro defensive player of the year cornerback, Stephon Gilmore, just a couple of seasons ago. Man, the Panthers defense looks like the best defense in the league. Now on paper, man, I'm really glad about the Panthers. And of course, their offense is not that bad. Of course, you are looking at a timeable scale of when or if Christian McCaffrey can come back to that offense. However, I still do feel like they have two really decent wide receivers, one being DJ Moore, a guy who's really crossing that line of elite wide receivers. And of course, you have Ronnie Anderson, something like that. He is a deep ball wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the league when it comes to passing the deep ball to him. And of course, another guy, the quarterback, of course, Sam Darnold. He's been really good this season. I'm glad he's finding a new home with the Panthers, and I think he's going to go into week 5 and come out 4-1. Now, of course, going over to the next game, the Titans versus the Jaguars. The Titans lost to the Jets last week. Of course, 27-24. It was pretty embarrassing. However, you still had the usual from all the players. Ryan Tannehill played a solid game. Of course, you also had Derrick Henry rush for 100 plus yards as he does literally every week. I mean, it's not even a question at this point. And of course, the Jags did lose to the Bengals, a game they probably should have won. Now, for my score prediction, I have the Titans winning this game 24-14. I know the Titans are without their 2 wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. However, I feel like the Jaguars aren't that good. Like, I feel like you don't need a lot to beat a team like the Jaguars. Their locker room's in disarray. Their head coach got caught doing stuff that we won't talk about at this point. And then, of course, you have the Titans, a team that is expected to pretty much compete for the Super Bowl this year and has a guy named Derrick Henry. That's all I'm going to say. The Titans are going to win this game because they have Derrick Henry. Now, of course, going down to the next game, the Browns versus the Chargers. The Browns did beat the Vikings 14-7 in a dominant defensive showing last week. And, of course, going to the Chargers, they surprisingly beat the Raiders 28-14. Man, Justin Herbert's looking like an MVP candidate right now. And if he can continue this pace for the rest of the season, I think Justin Herbert will and might even win the MVP award, or at least will compete. Now, for the score prediction, I have the Chargers pulling off the upset against the Browns, 27-21. Again, I feel like over the last 2 weeks or so, Justin Herbert has played elite level quarterback football. The Browns, they do have a great defense. However, the Chargers, they tend to upset. I mean, they got that upset a couple of weeks ago against the Chiefs. Why can't they do it right here? I think the Chargers are a very, very, very quiet contender for the Super Bowl this season. Of course, if their offensive line can stay healthy and their defense can stay healthy, I think the Chargers have a real shot. Now, of course, going down, you have the Bears versus the Raiders. I have the Bears beating the Raiders 24-21. Another upset. Of course, they did beat the Lions last week. A shocking win for the Bears, in my opinion. I had the Lions winning that game. The Raiders did lose to the Chargers, and we don't know if they're contenders or pretenders at this point because it seems like, I mean, their record says they're contenders, but I feel like their entire resume says that they're in that fault line middle. I don't know what the Raiders are yet, and going into this week, we're going to figure it out. I have the Bears winning this game 24-21. I feel like they have more wrinkles in their offense with now Justin Fields being the full-time starting quarterback. I think the Bears will win this game, and I think they're a great team and a great defense. Now, of course, going down, you have an interdivisional matchup, the Giants versus the Cowboys. The Giants actually beat the Saints last week in a shocking upset. 27-21, Saquon Barkley put up a good game. And, of course, Daniel Jones won NFC Offensive Player of the Week. He's really limiting those turnovers. I'm really glad. The Cowboys beat the Panthers 36-28. I have a Cowboys video actually coming out later, probably later this week or next week, on how I believe the Cowboys are one of the best, if not the best teams in the league. However, I have the Cowboys winning this game 38-24. Again, the Cowboys are the best offense in the league. I feel like this is self-explanatory at this point. Ezekiel Elliott looks bound for another huge season. Dak Prescott has started right where he's left off in the previous year. Man, the Cowboys look great. And of course, Trayvon Diggs, a good cornerback, a guy who has 5 interceptions in 4 games. The Dallas Cowboys look great, and they look bound for Super Bowl contention. Now, of course, the 49ers versus the Cardinals. The 49ers had a shocking loss against the Seahawks 28-21, a game that they probably should have won. However, the Cardinals pulled off an amazing upset. They destroyed the Rams 37-20. Man, that's absolutely insane. I mean, the Cardinals at this point can literally make a case for the best team in the NFL, and record-wise, they are the best team in the NFL, and they probably have the leading MVP candidate in Kyler Murray. Now, I have the Cardinals winning this game 28-14. I think Kyler Murray is bound for a big game nearly every single time he touches the field. Man, the Cardinals look great. That's all I'm going to say. Of course, they have every piece possible. They have a good defense. I feel like the Cardinals are in real serious talks for Super Bowl contention this season. Now, for the next game, I have an AFC Championship rematch, Bills versus Chiefs. Now, the Bills absolutely obliterated the Texans 40-0 last week. The Chiefs, they did beat the Eagles 42-30. However, I have the Bills winning this game. I feel like the Chiefs' defense is absolutely atrociously terrible. I don't think the Chiefs can defend a pole, and unless the Chiefs score 40 points, which, let's face it, that's kind of easy for the Chiefs to do. But unless the Chiefs score 40 points, I don't see them winning a lot of games as far as the defense is looking as of right now. Of course, it could get better as the season goes on. However, I have the Bills winning. They've dropped 40 points in 2 straight games. Josh Allen, again, is a quiet MVP candidate. I mean, what else do you want me to say? The Bills look like the best team in the NFL, or at least the best offense in the NFL, and I believe they will beat the Chiefs this week. Now, going into the last game, you have the Colts versus the Ravens. Now, the Colts beat the Dolphins 27-17, and of course, the Ravens beat the Broncos 23-7. Now, I have the Ravens winning this game 24-14. The Ravens are a surprising 3-0. 3-0 ever since their first game of the season that lost to the Raiders. I feel like the Ravens are prime contenders. Of course, Lamar Jackson has played some very, very elite, I won't say MVP, but I will say elite level football over the last couple of weeks. I feel like Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback. And if you can get that man some number one wide receivers, please get Lamar Jackson number one wide receivers. That's a conversation for another day. If you can get Lamar Jackson some pieces, I quite honestly believe that this Ravens team can go as far as Lamar Jackson takes them. I have the Baltimore Ravens winning this game 24-14. But of course, that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I have TikTok, Spotify, Instagrams. All those links are going to be in the description as usual. And without further ado, I'm going to end this video. You guys stay loved, stay blessed. I'm going to end this video. Thank you for watching.